Full disclosure, news and commentary number 103, 103, 103, 103, 103. 103, you know what that means? Next week is 104. And you know what that means? 2 years anniversary. 52 weeks in a year. I haven't missed a week. Next week is the 2-year anniversary of Full Disclosure News and Commentary. Can you believe that nonsense? Anyway, just because my kids are still doing school stuff and I want to knock it out of the way, today I went to Moobies, pop-up restaurant, Kevin Smith thing. It's right there on International Drive where we were all weekend. Anyway, I was at Moobies. Get my movie meal, but really so I could check the place out, take some pictures. I put that stuff up on my Facebook if you want to go check that out. But something else I did was I bought whatever products they had there. A couple of friends wanted different things. Sorry, it's shaking. I'm dealing with this little table. I'll try not to move it again. So I bought some like socks and shirts. They had this really cool shirt that I liked, and if it was anywhere near my size, I would have gotten it, which was the Orlando Magic logo and stuff, but it said the Moolando Magic. Super cool. But I couldn't get that shirt for myself. But luckily, the guy that was there, they only had one of these shirts left. So he let me snag it. And I'm going to show it to you. And then I'm going to give it to my kid. So here it is. Super cool. Snoochie Boochies equality. Notice that Kevin Smith gave himself abs and muscle definition. I admire that. If you're going to have a thing of you making out with Jay, give yourself abs. It's all part of being part of the gay community. You got to give yourself some abs so you give yourself a chance. Anyway, this shirt's really awesome, but I know what would have happened. I would have worn it once, and then my kid would have taken it anyway. So I'm just going to cut out the middleman, who is me, and just give it to him right now. Here, come and get your. Look at the shirt my kid is wearing, by the way. My kid, who has appropriated a bunch of my shirts, cut the sleeves off. Look at this shirt. WWA4 Wrestling, WWA4. This is one of the original WWA4 shirts, which we're going to talk about that era, by the way, because our commentary today is about Victory Championship Wrestling, all the trouble that Johnny Slaughter got into, all the issues that it brings up, my stories about Johnny Slaughter, and all the cringy stuff that's been going on around that whole thing and how everybody's been acting. That's going to be a nuts commentary. But here's the shirt, and it's for you. Enjoy it, enjoy it, enjoy it. Cool. Speaking of things that were a little unexpected, apparently my Patreon is of legal drinking age because I now have 21 patrons, which I never would have thought when I started the patron thing that I would ever get here. But I am here, and so I have these people to thank. New addition JJ, Larry, not that one, but the other one, Derek and Brett, and Trent and Trey. Trey's a relatively new person to this thing too. Rob Rod, of course, BWN, Diana, Josh Fields, Charles, Ace, Justin and D, Dan, Joe Black, Brian from PWX. By the way, PWX had themselves a big show. I'm going to do a separate thing about that, I think. And I also want to get some information about Brian about what's going to go on at their next show so I can start talking about that. Of course, the OG Myron, there since day one. He was the first. He's still the first and the best. What can I say? Eric the World Walker. Looking forward to his next spotlight on Georgia so I can put that up. Dylan, of course, and then our Big Mac Daddy, Super Daddy, Robert. So pretty awesome stuff here. Oh, and my kid's about to step in here and say something crazy. What?
I found this in that cabinet over there. You want to drink it after you make this video?
Is that bleach?
Yes.
You talking about drinking bleach?
I'm so bored, but drinking bleach.
I'm so bored. I'm drinking bleach.
Yeah.
a Dead Milkmen thing. My kid listened to the Dead Milkmen. Not my influence at all. Um, we got a lot to talk about, and I'm going to go off a few times. I'm just warning you. APW 63. It's a good number. Renegade Championship Wrestling 106 with their best of the best show. Action. Let's talk about action. Two things really stood out when I think about action and the two shows that they had. One, they were sold out, such as it was, awesome. But there are two pictures. How often have I said the importance of fucking pictures? And Action has definitely listened. Action is definitely making that a truism. Because the two pictures, the one of O'Shea Edwards and Alex Kane hugging each other, awesome. Great picture. And the other one of Logan Creed got that dude way up in the air with the choke slam. I saw people making memes of that thing, etc., etc., etc. Great job, Action Wrestling. The other takeaway that I got from reading those reports, by the way, all of these reports, gwhnewsandnotes.blogspot.com, has Georgia wrestling history ever been more important? You had reports about the action shows, about Southern Fried. Ask how happy Southern Fried was that Larry was at their show. They should be really happy because it's awesome, right? And then IWE getting that coverage from Charles, which was also on gwhnewsandnotes.blogspot.com. In any case, Action Wrestling, in addition to those two great pictures, the story of the day seemed to be they had angles going, they had storylines going throughout both of their shows. And stuff that'll make you want to come back the next time, stuff that'll keep your attention. I'll tell you this. I read Rob Rod's report, and the first thing I thought was, when does this thing go on IWTV so I can watch it? And I was told it takes a couple of days, but then it'll all be there. Guess what? I'm going to watch it. And I haven't watched their stuff before. The only thing I watched was really what I was kind of brought in because of Anthony Henry against Nolan Edward. And now I'm going to watch action shows. And so a home run. What can you say about action? That's a home run. They had sellouts. They have angles going on. The only negative, and it's not their fault, it's something that happened, is apparently Matt Sells got hurt. He's going to have to get surgery. Broken leg, messed up knee in the cartilage. That sucks. It sucks for Matt Sells, most certainly. Wish him the best. But he's already got the positive mental attitude. He's going to be all right. His attitude is already like, dude, every time I get hurt, I come back bigger and better. This is going to be no exception. Boom. Good stuff. But Action definitely made the most out of their weekend and their show. Pro South had their big show. And a lot of it sounded like it missed the mark, according to Larry, but they hit the mark where they absolutely needed to. And most importantly, Austin Tower against William Huckabee delivered the goods. That's what you want. You got to deliver on that hype. And it seems like every show delivered on the hype of their main event. What can you say? What can you say? Wrestling United drew over 100. And Rob Rod said it was a good show. And again, guys, you understand the level of coverage these shows are getting? IWE covered by Charles. Viral when they do their big April show. Charles is going to be there with bells on. And that's assuming nobody else goes. So you've got Charles doing shows representing that area. And if Livewire was smart and let him cover their shows, they would have coverage too. Larry covering shows. Rob Rod covering shows. And whenever he can get away from work and he isn't at death's door, he goes to more than one show on a weekend. Larry often goes to two as well. Sometimes more when AWE would run on Sundays. So all these shows are getting reports. Legit coverage and reports. It's an incredible time. It's an incredible thing. Heritage did a show as well. Didn't hear about that one yet. Hope to soon. Um, but we really got to talk about. I mean, I gave Action their props. So Action, in one fell swoop, they're putting up matches for that are match of the year quality. They're featuring wrestlers who are wrestler of the year quality. And now they're having legitimate booked angles that don't center around Matt Griffin himself, which I think is really great. Here's what I'm looking forward to. I told somebody this recently. Rant, bing. So 2 years ago, now that the show is going to be 2 years old, crazy. Now that the show is going to be 2 years old, my bugaboo the first year was people lying about their crowd sizes. Remember those days where I just harped and I got mad and I got ran and meh. Do people lie about their fucking crowds anymore? Not really. No. Now we get exact numbers. IWE 211. Like, gone are the days where people would round up by 10% and then round up by 80%. Right. People giving your legitimate crowd numbers is vital now. And the gates and all that stuff. That was my bugaboo 2 years ago. Last year, my bugaboo was getting rid of lying promoter garbage. And I think that's been done by and large successfully. Right? Calling out the groups and the individuals who are promising things that they weren't delivering on, all that kind of stuff. I think we've weeded it out. Even if promoters don't like me or I disagree with them, notice I didn't say I don't like them, but I know a number of people don't like me. That's whatever. But I will allow that the promoters of the major promotions right now are on the up and up as far as delivering on what they promise and doing right by the boys, at least to the minimal degree. And you got to keep in mind, this was not always the case. And in fact, it was usually the case that there were 1 or 2 shows running that were just flat out scams or flat out bad. Don't worry, I am going to talk about Victory Championship Wrestling in the commentary. Calm down. My kids can't hear. They're listening to Kids Bop. If you don't know what that is, go find out. So now we got to talk about Southern Fried. Let's talk about Southern Fried. I owe them an apology. Why? Because there were spurious things around the show and people were writing me and telling me things which were true, but it was giving me a real negative attitude, right? I thought Southern Fried announcing that they had a sellout a couple of weeks ago was really stupid. I thought it was very dumb to say that. And then to say that you have a sellout, but that you were still taking people at the door, something about that seemed very disingenuous to me. Does it mean you were lying about being sold out? Because they don't take money, they take reservations. So to tell people something is a sellout always just seems dumb to me. I'm sure they won't do that again, and they shouldn't do that again. Right? They shouldn't do that again. But I will admit that I had a really negative attitude about Southern Fried. I feel like they haven't really played things straight up. I think Manders has been kind of weird about stuff. I didn't have 100% faith that Todd could get everything back on track. Boy, was I wrong. Boy. Because and you're saying, well, Steve, you're just reading Larry's report. You're just going off of Larry's word. Even if that were true and I was only going off of Larry's word, that would be good enough. I'll take Larry's word and his opinion and his eye over anybody else's in the motherfucking state, okay? But more than that, they sent me the show, and thank you to Adam Vance for sending me the footage so I could watch. Because there was one match in particular they wanted me to watch, which I did watch and I did commentate on and give my review and opinions about, but I decided to put that on Patreon. So you got to be on my Patreon. But in this case, if you request it of me, I'll give you the link so you can see what I said. But that's neither here nor there. But I watched the second half of the show because I wanted to see if these crowd reactions were as genuine as like Larry said they were. And they were. Heat. Legitimate heat. And the joy, the babies thrown in the air when Todd, let me tell you something that I have not said before. I have not seen Kelly, Todd's wife, work before. Impressed. She was great. But Todd was great in that match. Really, really good. The selling, the way that match was paced, I think CT Keys was the right guy at the right time. Unexpected. He looks like a star. Him winning went over like Rover. Watching the undeniable work. Babyface. Didn't matter. Over. Watching the Jacob Ashworth return was bonkers. They're off to the races. Southern Fried is back. And what does that mean? It means a few things. One, who's the booker of the year so far? I've talked about what I think the match of the year so far is, the promo of the year so far is, and now the feud of the year so far is. Who's the booker of the year so far? We're going to talk about Southern Honor in a second. But boy, Todd just put himself back there, didn't he? And I say that it sounds like a negative thing. I'm saying, oh, he's put himself. No. What I'm saying is he has booked Southern Fried. Booker's job, bring people in, right? Booker's job, fill roles. Booker's job, adapt to things, right? Michael Judas, who they're expecting this barn burner of a match from with Ben Buchanan. I'm going to talk more about Ben Buchanan, by the way. Fucking love that guy. Right? He's supposed to have this barn burner of a match, but Judas is hurt and he can't do it. So they just adapted through booking. Is it disappointing that Judas wasn't able to wrestle Ben Buchanan in a, let's say, 12-minute match? Sure. But they adapted, and they adapted in a way where they didn't throw out the baby with the bathwater, and the show continued to flow, and they got more heat, etc., etc., etc. And then they make Todd and CT the focal point of that show, and everybody leaves happy, throwing babies in the air. But yet, my kids laughing at that phrase, but yet Todd's group is still incredibly strong, booked incredibly strong, and the war rages on, and then hitting Manders with a chair a couple of times. And then Manders talking shit about it today. It's good shit. Southern Fried's got the heat, baby. They got the heat, and it's cooking, and I get what they're doing, and I'm getting why they're doing it. Here's another story about Southern Fried doing so well. It certainly makes Southern Violence coming into town much more interesting, does it not? Running out of the brewery. Now, I've already stated my piece about how I thought Southern Violence was not in the wrong. If the Southern Brewing Company wants them to do a show in Monroe, they are not just obligated to do it. There's nothing wrong with them doing it. And I know Manders and them are going to bitch and moan and whine and complain and do whatever they can. And if you work for them, then you can't work for me and all that kind of horseshit, indie shit. Southern Fried, let me give you a bit of advice. Quit worrying about what other people are doing because it's not affecting you. With Todd and that crew, you're making what other people are going to do irrelevant. As long as you can sell that place out at 200 or whatever the number they're capping you at, concentrate on you. Whenever Southern Fried keeps its eyes on the prize, it attains the prize. When Southern Fried starts having these weird ambitions about wanting to run different towns, that's when they've always fucked themselves. Whenever they make promises and don't deliver, that's when they fuck themselves. But when you let Todd and that crew do their goddamn thing, your job is to get the building, David Manders. Get the building and make sure that they're doing the show. And they'll take care of everything else. It's an ideal situation. It's a situation that the top promotions have, where the promoters just provide the facility and provide the means in which to do the show, and then you have other people determine that shit and do it, and it works great. Works great at Southern Honor. Let's talk about Southern Honor. Let's talk about it. So, Logan gets kicked in the head by David Ali. Heat up the wazoo. Just the amount of people who watched my reaction to that was much bigger than normal. People were fascinated by that angle. And then nothing comes of it, really. We don't have an interaction between Logan and David Ali, really. And they're still not interacting. And then the next show, based on some fuckery with we headbutted each other and we're both bleeding, but he didn't see this, and there's a referee investigation. But then the long and short of it is nothing's going to come of that. That it's now Logan against Austin Tower, which is okay, but we're still not getting the Logan and Sunny Days against Ali and Tower tag match, which was the natural thing to do. But now that hasn't happened. So we're going to get Logan against Austin Towers. Okay. And we're going to get David Ali against Gunnar Miller. Okay. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying heat, fire. It's something that needs to be controlled, or else it burns you up. And unfocused fire is the most dangerous thing, yeah? And right now, I'm not 100% convinced with Southern Honor. Now, maybe at their next show, they're going to prove me wrong. They have a lot of things going well in that show. So it's going to be Lee Johnson's last match on the Indies, Sean Dean's last match on the Indies. So that's great. But, you know, when Action had Anthony Henry's last match, it was incredibly meaningful because the way they had been booked, the way that Anthony Henry and the things that he had done at Action Wrestling and other indies that Action Wrestling was plugging into was very significant. Stuff with JD Drake, the stuff with Nolan Edward. So his last match there was very meaningful. Plus, it was a great match. Right now, it's my match of the year, right? If you think he can beat it, let me know. By the way, IWE thinks they're going to beat it, and so they're going to get me a copy of David Ali against Very Morales. So I'm going to take a look at that thing. Coming out of this IWE show, by the way, Logan Creed against Stacey Mack, they had a number of matches that were really, really significant. And between them and Action doing their thing and Southern Fried, boy, that's a huge weekend in Georgia wrestling. Huge, huge weekend. And I'm looking forward to watching all these matches. Now people are sending me more and more stuff for me to look at, to evaluate. And that's my fault because that's what I've been doing. And I'm happy to do it. But I'm glad people are excited. So Southern Honor, they have a very big task ahead of them. They went from 410 crowd-wise. First time they've been over 400 in a while. And it was great. And then they dropped to 340. That's a drop of 70 people. Folks, that's almost a 20% drop. That's numbers. That's facts, right? What's this next show going to do? Is Gunnar Miller, David Ali, is it going to do more than 340 or less? We're going to have to wait and see. I'm hoping that they promote this correctly. I hope they find a way. Now, Sean Dean, I think, had a little more of a significant Southern Honor career than Lee Johnson did, but both of them are giving their last independent match to Southern Honor. How are they going to be able to capitalize on that? Is that going to be meaningful to their fan base? We're going to have to wait and see. A lot is going to be determined by this next Southern Honor show. Steve, what do you mean? What I mean is this. Right now, Southern Fried clearly captured that lightning, put it back in the bottle. Now we've got it again. They've got the heat. Southern Violence is the army on the march. Now they've dominated and taken over Athens. Can they get a foothold in Monroe? My loose prediction would be that their first thing at Southern Brewing Company in Monroe, bless you, she's a 3 sneezer, watch. You only sneeze twice? Sounds like a sounds like a Nick Jr. version of like a James Bond movie. You only sneeze twice. So sorry. God, I made my kid laugh. That's awesome. Got off track. But Southern Fried has the heat. Southern Violence is the army on the move. And I saw a post today by Ryan that was a great one on the surface, but they have to be careful too. Here's what I mean. So they're coming into Monroe, Southern Fried territory. They're going to be at the Southern Brewing Company. I would guess their first show is going to have around 200. And maybe they can build it from there, which is perfectly respectable. Southern Fried, obviously, is going to sell out at their 200. Larry predicts that their next show will sell out, no problem. That's fine. That's good, right? That's what heat can do for you. Plus, people are excited. They've got that level of excitement there. They've got the most excited fans going. Though I'm curious to hear this IWE thing because I heard that they were excited. And then everything I've seen coming out of GIPW is how excited their fans are. Unbelievable and wonderful and great. Yeah. But when you look at Southern Violence, they're coming into Monroe. They're going to be competing directly and indirectly with Southern Fried. Both of them can share fans. I'm not saying they're going to take fans away from each other. As long as they don't make that part of the argument, and I would suggest Southern Fried that you don't. I don't worry less about competing and worry more about being competitive. Ooh, that sounded deep and brilliant. But Southern Violence, there's one thing when they said, you be careful, wrestlers, people judge you and book you, like promotions look at you based on the promotions that you work for, which is very true. But Southern Violence, people look at promotions based on the people they book as well. And I don't care what fucking universe you live in, see Nick ain't no Matt Hankins. And if C Nick is the guy that you're using as your manager, you ain't shit. Does somebody care to dispute that? When you're using him as a ring announcer, when literally everybody else doing it is better, that's a problem. At some point, you've got to upgrade. And if you're going to be out here, Southern Violence, and I love those guys, but if you're going to be out here casting aspersions saying, hey, wrestlers, be careful who you wrestle for because other promotions will see you accordingly, that goes double for the talent that you use. And a lot of Southern Violence rise has been about the increasing quality of the talent that they're using. When Austin Towers shows up on your card, it means something. When Logan Creed shows up on your card, it means something. When Very Morales rises to prominence, that helps your promotion because he's been there for such a long time and that he's helping you along. At some point, you got to use really great people, or else the perception of you declines. If you don't believe that, ask Pro South and read Larry's reports in that regard. I'll say no more about it, except to say I am excited about the impending war of Monroe. I'm excited about people challenging. I'm excited about the fact that we've got a wrestling show in the state of Georgia that did a $60,000 gate. I'm excited about the fact that Larietto has obviously made improvements behind the scene that is leading to improvements of the number of people that they draw and the events that they're putting on. I'm excited that KLT, that people are writing me going, you got to see these improvements to the building. And is there any way you can get Larry to come see? And I'm like, do you guys still just have the one bathroom? They're like, yeah, we just have the one bathroom still, but they're going to put in more. And the rest of the building is really upgrading because we're going to host all this stuff and we're going to do this thing with Aces and Eights reunion and we're going to do... Dude, people are excited and people are competing. And all of these people who have been saying this cliche of competition is good, it's good for it. Sure. But did we ever think that it would be this competitive? I dare say we did not. In fact, there was probably a period there within the last year where we thought nobody might ever really run again. And it was groups like Southern Violence that showed that it could be done and done in a safe way and done in conjunction with local businesses and all the rest of that. And that's wonderful. And now the gloves seem to be off somewhat. And now everybody is back and running. And I think with Viral running in April, once Viral runs their show, officially everybody is back that matters. Yes, I said that about Viral and I meant it. But we're in a time of relative peace right now. Are we not? Let's be real. That's what I do. We're in peacetime. Yeah? And right now we're all kind of rooting for each other. I'm rooting for everybody to sort of get back on their feet and do their thing. But once people get back on their feet, the first thing they want to do is walk over somewhere and hit somebody in the head. And that's beginning to brew. And that's beginning to start, and that's beginning to happen. It's fun to want competition if you're Gary Lamb when you sense that there isn't any. But is it fun when if we only do 3 nominees for Promoter of the Year? Did you ever imagine a scenario where Gary Lamb may not even be one of the nominees? Steve, that's ridiculous. Lariato's drawing 500, and they've obviously improved their thing quite a bit. So do you keep Lariato out of it? Do you keep Mucha Lucha out of it once they start running monthly? If they're drawing 600 people a show? If they're making $60,000 gates, you're going to keep Mucha Lucha out of it? Of course not. And what about Southern Violence? If they're running 2 different towns and they're drawing 400 people in each one of those spots, are you going to keep them out of it? Are you going to keep out Southern Fried if they're running 2 shows a month and they're selling out to their capacity every single time? And they've got all the heat and the Peppa Baby. Are you going to keep them out? Are you going to keep GIPW out? If they're running bigger and bigger venues? Are you going to keep Action out if they're making huge waves on IWTV? I've been hearing about Atomic Wrestling in Florida and Alex Red and those cats, and they're getting tens of thousands of views on IWTV. If they're doing that, I certainly believe that Action can do that. And if they're doing that and more people are seeing them than anybody else, are they not in the discussion for Promoter of the Year? Can you believe we're having this conversation? I can't. It's exciting. So, this next Southern Honor show, Steve, are you saying it's a big deal? Oh, yeah, it's a big fucking deal. Because they need to turn that corner. They need to have that heat. And whoever wins their title, if David Ali retains or Gunnar Miller wins it, it changes the direction of that company. And that is incredibly exciting. And that is something that they booked themselves into that position, which is wonderful. But I have to admit, there are things about them that make me kind of scratch my head a little bit. Like, what did we do all this stuff with Logan Creed getting kicked by David Ali to not have it really pay off? Because that's what it feels like. It feels like it's not really moving in that direction. I mean, Logan Creed's going to take on Austin Tower, who they rebuilt a little by having him beat the outside guy. Okay, I see that, but where's it going? What's it going to be? And the adjustments that people are making off of people not being able to be at their show or people being hurt, and the adjustments being made is the most impressive thing to me. That's what's really getting me right now. I'm feeling the adjustments that Action made. I'm feeling the adjustments that IWE made. I mean, not having that one female talent there, but then having Danny Jordan show up in street clothes and kind of beat down the Kelsey Reagan girl. And then, then she challenges Shalonda Royal. Like, this is all great stuff when I read it. I can't wait to see it, which people are giving me access to that. So that's wonderful. And so to the groups that are being sort of left out right now, like Heritage, I don't know what happened at your show. I got to know, because you got to get into this mix, because there's just too much good stuff happening right now. And at some point, and I get the people who say, it's wonderful, the more places there are for the boys to work, the better it is. But I'm telling you, this stuff will come to a head, and there'll be all these groups running, and it's not sustainable. At some point, people have to fall by the wayside, and people can't be 3 places at once to go to all these shows. And at some point, when things open up and people aren't capped off, that's when we're really going to know. What is Action going to do when they're allowed to have more people in the building. What's that going to mean? Does that mean that they'll get that charity piece back in there? Because right now they don't have that piece, which is a lot of their fan base. But they've put on quality shows. They've gone to higher ticket prices and doing dual shows and having a strong presence on IWTV. I want to know. I want to know where the gold's at. I want to know.
Actually, he's right here. He's right here.
Gold. That's the name of my kid's crab. Look at this thing. You're so cute. There you go. Cute. This kid. So, lots of stuff's going on. WrestleMerica. Do you keep WrestleMerica out of the argument? Putting 250 people in the building. Continuing to do great stuff. And when you look at mentors, it's all up in the air. And it's so competitive and it's so exciting. Before I get to the commentary, two things. One, I need to do an unboxing, which I forgot to do in the beginning, because I got two things and I'm definitely excited about that. And yeah. And I need to talk about all this crazy stuff happening this week. So today, it's Raw. There's AEW Dark Elevation. I'm going to be covering both of those. Covered the pay-per-view last night. I wanted to cover the NWA thing, but dude, it was just too much. I mean, I'm back from a mini vacation with my kids, and I was already going to cover Fastlane. I just wasn't down to watch NWA. I was told some of it was pretty good. People seemed really high on the girl that beat Thunder Rosa. Okay. I mean, I'll watch the match, but it is what it is. Yeah. And whether that platform is sustainable. Are people going to pay NWA to watch show after show after show? I guess we'll have to wait and see how sustainable that is. I would be curious to see the numbers. What are people doing on IWTV? What is Action doing? Because, Atomic Wrestling pointed that out to me. Like, this 10,000 people are watching this show or that show. And I'm like, yeah, I would love to know how many people are watching Action, how many people are watching Southern Honor, how many people are watching this, that, and the other. I would be very interested to hear that, especially with WrestleMania week coming up. Think about that stuff, folks. How many shows am I going to be at? What's going on with the Boot and Heel show? I'm hearing all kinds of stuff. I'm going to be working a bunch of shows, but I'm also going to try to see as much as I can. As long as I'm already out and about, might as well. Right? So before we get to this commentary, let's do this unboxing. I got two things. Something that is probably a shirt and something that is definitely not a shirt. Veronica, am I opening the shirt or non-shirt first?
I'm gonna save the best for last, so open the shirt first.
Open the shirt first. Smart.
After all, you gotta open it up with a little bit of predictability, but then this one has that so easy, you gotta hit them with the really good stuff,
That's good. Kids are showman. Wow, this is me not being able to open up plastic.
The only instance where it's acceptable for a grown man not to be able to open something is if it's that stupid coconut water.
Oh, I think this is from Charles Felder. Charles Felder. And I'm going to reveal it to you the same time as it is revealed to me. Oh, snap. Full Metal Jacket, especially the first half of that movie, to me is so wonderful. What is your major malfunction? Please say numbnuts. Numbnuts, it does. I love it. You got some F. Lee Emery. I'm all about him, man. Bam. Yeah. Of course, it's meaningful to me. My father was a Marine. I guess you always are. So my father's a Marine. So I think Charles wanted to send this to me because I was talking about him and his military stuff and growing up a military brat. So it's very meaningful and it's very lovely. Thank you, Charles. And now, open up the non-t-shirt. I think it's a non-t-shirt. No note. Oh, snap. See, I knew it was from Generation Kikaida, which is the show that I am obsessed with, and I'm going to have a new YouTube series about. Um, so, somebody, I mentioned it on my Twitch channel that I was going to start covering Kikaida stuff. So, somebody from the Twitch, I think, got me this 45th anniversary in Hawaii Kikaida hat. Meaningful because I love Kikaida, and obviously I'm a Hawaii boy, and so that is as dope as it gets. Man, I feel like a kid. I mean, I got a Marine thing on, and I got this Kikaida hat, so it is like I am 14 again, with no girls talking to me whatsoever.
I'm Michaela and I'm talking to you. You're lucky.
That's right, I am lucky, so lucky. Um, all right, it's time to get to the commentary. Serious one, eh? Johnny Slaughter. So, Victory Championship Wrestling, um, arrested for first and second degree. There was some conjecture online about how old was the person that he allegedly abused, all that kind of stuff. As usual, discussions online get bogged down. I will say that I can only speak for me. So let me just say, when they released that thing of whatever the fuck her name was, who was taking over as GM, one, such a cringy announcement to make in general. We're switching this pro wrestling GM over some real life serious stuff. Insane to me that you would put that out. But then to say something like, in light of the heinous false allegations, is super cringy and puts the people reading it in such a bad position of, now I have to, so if I go to this show, am I supporting this thing that I don't know whether it's guilty or not? And if it is guilty, isn't that horrendous? And if that is horrendous, why are you telling me that it's not real when it is? And it's so cringy and so badly handled. But that is not the same as being guilty. Steve, are you saying that, oh, you're going to do this thing of like, we got to give Johnny Slaughter the benefit of the doubt and innocent and proven guilty? It's not the same because public opinion. I get all those arguments. I get all that. Before I get to address those kind of things, which I've addressed before in part, and I'm not always the popular voice in these things, but I like to think that I am the voice that is often needed. But before I really talk about that directly, I'm going to tell you about my encounters with Johnny Slaughter. So I wouldn't say met because I don't know if he and I even exchanged any kind of words. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia to open up what would become Platinum Championship Wrestling. Was called something else, but it was me training people. And we started in August 2001, right? And before I arrived in Atlanta, I did the courtesy of finding anybody that I could online who did training in the Georgia area and contacting them saying, I'm opening up in your area. I'm writing you to let you know that I am not trying to poach anybody's student. I'm not trying to screw anybody over. I'm just being respectful, letting you know that I'm coming into town. This is my intention, is to train a bunch of people. You may have heard about me because we're running radio ads and print ads and creative loafing and things like that. And I didn't want anybody to freak out because I know how wrestling people can be. Pretty respectful thing to do, right? Nobody got a hold of me except for Frank Aldridge at WWA4. Now, Frank and I don't agree about many things. In fact, I think he's a parasite, and I think he's a jerk, and I think he's a whole bunch of terrible things that I won't say in front of my kid. However, he did respond to me, and he goes like, I can't believe you sent me that email. I have never gotten an email like that in professional wrestling before. And it intrigued him, and it impressed him enough that he's like, I want you to come down, and I want you to meet with me because maybe we can help each other out. Didn't know what he meant, but I went down there, and basically what Frank proposed is, I have this big space and I have these multiple rings. Instead of having to do everything on your own dime, why don't you just rent space out of here, rent your school out of here, and we'll go from there. And that way you'll save a little money and you'll be able to establish yourself. But I had already had a plan and I had a bunch of students signed and I already had my own space and a couple of rings that ended up being shit. And then I had to buy another one. That's another story for another time. Maybe I'll tell it on Patreon. And long story short, I didn't take him up on his offer, but I did meet with him and I maintained a relationship. And then later on, when we got kicked out of that space for reasons that I'll go into on Patreon, I did take him up on it and ended up having my ring in the WWA for school and then ended up taking over the whole thing. At first, Buddy Lee Parker was his trainer and I was the trainer for my thing. But then Buddy Lee Parker fucked him over to try to start his own thing, which completely flopped. And Frank was desperate and needed a trainer. So I got tapped to take over the whole thing. And what did I do? I established running weekly shows. Sound familiar, WWA 4 people? That was me. We ran weekly shows, did training all the time, etc., etc., etc. In any case, but when I met with Frank that first time, Buddy Lee Parker was not his trainer. That would come later. His trainer was Johnny Slaughter. And judging from looking at how old Johnny Slaughter is on this arrest stuff, I would estimate when I was watching Johnny Slaughter train, that person that I was watching him train, he was probably 20 or 21 running a wrestling school. And I remember this too because it made quite an impression on me because apparently Chris Long had been there teaching before, but he was gone at that point. And Frank was bad-mouthing him. Let me tell you something about Frank Aldridge. If you worked for Frank Aldridge at any point, Frank Aldridge's thing was to badmouth you after you left and make you seem like you were the worst person in the world. That went for me, that went for Buddy Lee Parker, that went for Johnny Slaughter, and that went for Chris Long. Everybody was horrible. It was never Frank's fault. Never. In any case, Johnny Slaughter was there, and the drill that he was running was he was having this person take a bump and throw themselves out of the ring over the top rope, hit the apron hard, land on the floor, then get up, turn and feed to him, and then he would clothesline them and make them bump on the floor. That was the drill. And they were doing it again and again and again. So you know those like thin, hard foam puzzle mats? That was what was on the floor of this warehouse, basically. So it's a concrete floor with this thin layer of puzzle mat foam. That's what people were bumping on repeatedly. And I say people, I mean one person. He's training nobody, right? Just one person. Blam. Having to take this dangerous bump on their own, land on the apron hard, fall to the floor, get up, feed, and then get clotheslined by Johnny Slaughter, and then they would take this flat back bump on the concrete floor with this much puzzle foam. It was the dumbest thing I had ever seen. And I thought to myself, oh my God, this is the training that's going on in Georgia. I'm going to frickin' dominate. Because my guys are going to come in and I'm going to think safety first, but make sure that they're not bump shy. And these guys are going to go on and be great. And I don't know. How's Shane Marks? Is he pretty good? How are the Bullets? Are they pretty good? How about Jeter? Brian Blaze? And a host of others. And the women I trained, who basically comprised all of Georgia women wrestling at one point. In any case. So what was my first impression of Johnny Slaughter? This kid doesn't know what he's doing, and he's way too young to be doing this stuff. And he's pushing these guys way too hard, and he doesn't understand. Does that mean that he committed these offenses that he's going to stand trial for doing? It doesn't mean anything in regards to that. I'm just giving you insight on the first time that I saw Johnny Slaughter. And anytime I heard about him afterwards, it was always for some shady shit. Right? It was stealing the freaking Anarchy TV title. I believe that was Johnny Slaughter, right? If I'm wrong about that, hey, let me know. But I believe that was Johnny Slaughter. I'm sure somebody will quickly tell me I'm right about that. Yeah? So this is a guy who's always just been a sort of an unrepentant, disgusting wrestling type. And you know what I'm talking about when I say that, I hope. And, you know, I've noticed these discussions about Johnny Slaughter online, where some people, like Simon Sermon, who always takes the most grown-up position in the room when it comes to this stuff, which is, look, you guys are making all these assumptions and suppositions and trying to intimidate other people. Like, better not go work for Victory or we're going to call you out and all this kind of stuff. It's like, and you don't even know what's going on. We don't even know if this guy's convicted and blah, blah, blah. And then certain people are saying, like Amy Haven and others, well, he kind of made inappropriate advances towards me and this kind of stuff. Okay. Here's my thing. Johnny Slaughter does not need to be tried in the court of public opinion. That is going to happen regardless, just by this information getting out. I do find it really disturbing that people are giving me information about this. Notice I haven't said anything about this until now. I didn't have to. What I did was I called Larry, we talked about it, and then Larry put up just the facts on Georgia wrestling history. That's worth way more than me coming out and doing some kind of guest piece, right? Well, maybe he did it, maybe he didn't, and fuck Johnny Slaughter. No. I will say that I do find it disturbing that it's the same usual suspects of people who feel the need to get something out of commenting and highlighting Johnny Slaughter's arrest and what he was arrested for, that it definitely seems like it's about what they can get out of it instead of reporting this thing that people are more than aware of. I have no problem with people sharing the information. I have no problem people talking about it. What I find disturbing is the agenda of people feeling the need to get on their sort of righteous high horse about Johnny Slaughter. At the end of the day, that guy's going to either be convicted or not convicted. And people in the past, they'll say, well, but Steve, you've reported stuff about whatever. Yeah. When somebody was clearly pulling strings to get away with something, I've definitely pointed it out. Believe it. Right? But at the end of the day, and it's just like what I was saying before about different things, or even the hubbub about Jacob Ashworth coming back, where people just seem like they want to get their pound of flesh all over again. Folks, things play out however they play out. And at the end of the day, my suggestion is look into your own heart and determine why you are saying what you're saying. And the image that you are attempting to project by saying what you're saying. And if you are indeed doing it in order to project an image instead of accomplish a positive aim, and don't give me this, whoa, can it be both? Can't I just be putting stuff out there because I want a reputation as someone who's like a real go-getter or somebody who's, fighting for justice or whatever the hell, and get something good accomplished? But I'm telling you, at this point in the game, you're accomplishing nothing. Everybody knows about Victory Championship Wrestling. Everybody knows about Johnny Slaughter. And Victory Championship Wrestling, by putting out that stupid thing about, these heinous fake charges and our GM, they're already shooting themselves on the foot. Can we agree about this, people at large? Can we agree that by and large, they're already fucking themselves? So having these pointless things of people trying to flex authority, anybody who works for them, we're going to notice and we're going to... Shut the fuck up. Because you're preaching to your inner circle and your choir anyway. And I gotta say, people who are attempting to rule or to shape the opinions and activities of others through fear, just that alone makes me not like you. We've had enough of people trying to use fear tactics to push people down. And I'm just saying, it would probably do you as an individual a great deal of good to step out of that space. Now, if you have experiences with Johnny Slaughter that were negative, by all means talk about them. But this idea, and it's this idea that's taken hold in the last year and a half or 2 years that I really despise from wrestling people, of we're going to be the arbiters of what is okay to do and what is not okay to do, and we're going to flex ourselves publicly and just run our mouths until people agree with us or don't agree with us, or people see me as a leader or don't see me as a leader. I'm tired of it, and I would imagine I am not alone. And as somebody who also has a great deal of opinions about things and is not afraid to express them, I do have to temper you, because I often temper myself and make the decision. Is this something that I'm going to say publicly? Is this something that instead I'll do on Patreon because it's not quite in the public eye? Or is this something that I'm going to keep my mouth shut until more information comes in? I make all three of those calls, and I get disturbed when I see people who never consider not speaking on something because they just have to, and they convince themselves it's for the greater good, but it's not about the greater good. It's ultimately about themselves. And if you're making decisions that are ultimately based primarily in a selfish desire for status or some kind of clout or something like that, then you're probably in the wrong. Doesn't mean Johnny Slaughter is in the right. As a friend of mine loves to say, two things can be true. Just make sure that you're controlling the one thing that you can really, truly control, which is yourself. This has been Full Disclosure.
It's the pandemic's birthday.
What?
You know, I calculated it. You know, we started having to land from home at like the end of spring break, so it's the pandemic's birthday now.
Oh, it's the pandemic's birthday. Yay. And to
Yes,
celebrate the
that's right.
pandemic's birthday, let's push its face in the cake until it stops moving. Wow, that was dark. This has been Full Disclosure.